Everyone, welcome to my cyberspace. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to prepare for a data analyst interview. First of all, I want to congratulate you for landing that data analysis interview. That was a very strong feat, and I wish you congratulations in advance. But so that we could seal the congratulations, now let's jump right into what are the steps you need to take so that you could land your dream role and get started in the next few weeks. Let's jump right into it. So first things first is you want to have a perfect understanding of the role. So research the job description and the required skills. So you want to know what are the job description. So you applied for this job. Go back to, if you could find the link, whatever you applied, either on LinkedIn or Indeed, go and read the job description again so that you can keep yourself abreast of what you eventually applied for, because a whole lot of job seekers, you probably apply for a couple of jobs before landing like the actual role. So you want to do that first of all to know what is like the job you applied for. I think that's one thing you want to do first of all. So one other thing you also want to do is you want to also brush up your core tools, SQL, Excel, Python, R, and visualization tool. So now this is not the time to go and learn entirely new skills. So if you know how to use these tools already, so you want to just go back, do some practice. Either you want to memorize some lines of code, or you just want to work on a project so that you could keep yourself abreast of some of the terms, like either join, left join, or let's say you're doing SQL, you could learn to practice some window functions, because actually when you're working, you're not expected to have to know all of these like by heart. But because you're doing an interview and you want to show yourself like very competitive, you might want to have that option of, I want to stand out and at least learn some of the most basic or the recurring functions or the types of analysis that you do, like you would do on a regular basis. So that's something that I would recommend you do. Another thing also is to review statistics, data, concept, probability, hypothesis testing, regression. So to be able to excel as a data analyst, core of the things that we do is try and understand the mathematics, the statistics behind it. So you need to know some concepts. You might feel like, oh, this is a data analyst interview that I'm just supposed to come and use Excel, SQL, Power BI, but literally, if I were to hire somebody, I would lean more towards somebody who understand the theoretical aspect of what they are doing compared to just understanding the tool, because anyone can pick up a new tool and replicate what they need to do so far they know what the outcome would be. So one of the things you want to do is some common like hypothesis testing. What does p-value means? Just make sure you try to familiarize yourself with some common statistics or some common data analysis techniques that are related to the job you're applying for. So the goal here is not just to focus on the tools that you'll be using. You also want to know the theoretical aspect of like your data analysis role. Also, you want to practice. Like, we can't say this enough. So practice SQL coding problem, joins, group by, window functions, cleaning data. I spoke about it a little bit, so I think it's very quite clear. You want to do some practice. I'm just going to jump right into the next point. So know business metrics, retention, churn, conversion rates, industry KPIs, and etc. So what do I mean by this? You need to know the business. In fact, this is probably one of the best things that would make you stand out among your peers, because you are trying to solve a problem. That's one of the things we need to see ourselves as data experts. We are indeed stakeholders. We are not like the backseat. We should see ourselves as collaborators, meaning that the business sort of need our help to be able to increase revenue or reduce cost or whatever like the business need us for. So we see ourselves as part of the business, not necessarily somebody coming and say, I want you to run XYZ type of reports, because you also be able to help the business better if you know their pain points, if you know the business well. So that's why some persons would decide to just stay or apply their data analysis skills in just one industry, and when they decide to move to a different industry, they might not excel. So one of the things you want to do is to focus and increase your knowledge about the industry. So read up about like the current trend about the company, read up about their website. So when you're talking or you're giving practical examples, you're giving examples within the context of that company. So the company or the hiring manager feels like you are very interested or you are very invested into the role. And let's go to the next point. Data interpretation questions, be able to explain insights from charts and dashboard. So one of the things that would occur to you as a data expert every day is that you would have to present your reports either formally or informally to different stakeholders, and these different stakeholders will have like different levels of knowledge. Some would be like very familiar with data concepts. Some would be able to see a graph or a chart and understand what you're trying to say, while others might not have like a perfect understanding of like the analysis that you're running. So one of the things you want to do is to be able to communicate complicated terms. That's a little bit mouthful. To be able to communicate complicated terms in simple terms, right? So what does this mean for the everyday man? Not just that the chart shows this. And in trying to communicate your results effectively, there is a acronym called KISS. It's called Keep It Simple Stupid, or Keep It Simple Son, whichever one you want to say. But it's just keep it simple. So sometimes it's not just about like having this old fancy project. A lot of times when people are working on a project because you don't have past deadline. When I mean project right now, you're trying to practice a project. You might have all the time to make a very colorful, fancy, but when you have a hard deadline or a multiple project you're trying to juggle, you would focus on simplicity. So it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to make your visualization or your reports aesthetically appealing. But I would say as a data expert, first of all, your goal or your primary aim when you're running analysis is, would I be able to understand this if I am not a data person? So come outside of that thinking cap of I am a data analyst. Think of I am a layman right now. Would I understand what this report is all about without having to explain to somebody? And let's go to the next one. Case study and business scenarios. Solve open-ended problem efficiently. So one of the things you want to do, just trying to also understand the business, have like open-ended questions. What would be so more like recommendations to a particular analysis? Have like a real question that you are solving, that the business will be able to say, oh, this person actually knows what they are doing. And let's go right into the next one. Behavioral soft skill and use STAR method for teamwork and problem solving. So what does this really mean? So some of you might have heard the STAR approach, some might not have heard. So it's basically called S as in situation, C as in task, A as in achievement, and R as in A as in action, R as in result. I might miss that a little bit, but I think that's what it is. But what it's just all about is when you're trying to answer an interview question, you want to use a STAR approach. The STAR approach could be like, let's assume you use Power BI to be able to run visualization. So the first thing is you want to talk about like, what was the situation, what was the problem. I used Power BI to be able to show XYZ that increased this. So you're talking about the results, you're talking about the tools, you're talking about the process. So you want to use like that STAR approach such that the business is able to understand the context as to which what you said in your CV. And also you even use the STAR approach to be able to make your CV. In other videos, I'm going to be talking about how to make your CV great as a data expert, but that's one of the things you want to do. Also, you would be prepared to answer behavioral questions. People like to work with people that they will be able to work great with. So you don't want to be the person who is great on art skills. Art skills, I mean, like you know how to use your Python, R, SQL, all of those, but your relational skill is very poor. So one of the things you want to do in an interview is you want to be relatable. For your interviewers, if you can, if time permits or anything permits, you could try to throw in just a little bit of light jokes, or just make sure at least there's this, be personable, be friendly. People don't want to work with people that are a little bit, they look hostile. So it's your first impression to show that you are a person that they will be great to work with. So you ask them about themselves, that if you have the room for. So just make sure you read your room. What I'm trying to say is have the mindset that you really want to connect with your interviewer. So that's something that would make you stand out in your next data analyst interview. Now let's jump right into the next one. So portfolio projects. I like real world projects to demonstrate skills. So what do I mean by this? This is very clear. One of the things you want to do is to create a portfolio for yourself. And this is something I would say, for those that probably haven't even landed data analysts, you've not landed an interview, or you are landing interviews and you've not been scaling through, maybe after like first stage or second stage, this is what I would recommend you to do. Have a focus as to the industries that you think you're interested in working with, and also try to look at the traction as to which your CV, where the industries your CV has been gaining traction. Maybe you've been applying for data analyst role in finance, in healthcare, in business, in tech. Look at it like, for the most part, where have I been getting like feedback from, where have I been getting interviews called from. So try to highlight the top 3 or the top 2, and also overlap that with the kind of industry you think you would be more interested in to work in. Then make a project in that related to that industry, right? So you could go to any website to download a data. It doesn't have to be that any particular company's data. It could be a particular company data. So far you find it's publicly available online, get the data, take your time to work on the analysis. So you add that to your portfolio when you're doing your interview, and there's probably like the opportunity to, I don't know, this depends on the stage. It could be at the second stage, the third stage, or the fourth stage, or whatever stage it is. You could ask the interviewer if they would probably allow you 5 minutes to be able to show a project similar to what the company is doing. So when you show that, it's going to make you stand out from like the everyday person, because you are bringing like the extra to the table. It might look as though you just worked on that project recently, but this skill of trying to ensure that you've done the projects because you know the kind of industry that you are interested in and the ones you've been getting interviews for, when you show them during the interview, they might think you probably just did it a few days before, and doing it like way before would have given you more time to work on the analysis to make it more visually appealing. But make sure you're able to communicate effectively what you are going to be presenting, and whatever you're presenting, make sure you eventually connect it back to the business or what they do. So I think doing one of those is also going to help you land your next data analysis job when you do your interview. So let's go on to the last one. Mock interviews, resources, lead code, strata scratch, and recording practice section. Like they say, practice make perfect. You want to do practice with your peers, with yourself, record yourself. Know like the basic interview questions that that would be asked. Tell me about yourself. All of those scenarios, or have somebody who is probably an HR or even a fellow data analyst, and say, hey, I have this interview coming up. Are you able to spare me 10 to 20 minutes of your time to prep me? And they give you honest feedback. You can do this with 1 or 2 persons, or you would record yourself and check it out, and or maybe just even write your response and read it aloud and see if whatever you wrote is very great. So I'm sure all of this is going to be valuable for you. If you think this was valuable for you, do well to follow, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for your time. Ciao.